Yo. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Read, Define, Print, the show. This is season 4, episode 3, and I got a very, very special guest. I'm really, what's the word looking for? Rusty right now because I'm used to doing a live. So we pre-recording just in case y'all wondering. I'm a little rusty with the pre-recording, but we got a very special guest here. I want to thank the brother. He's a very good brother. He goes by the name of Nadir Jones. And in case you don't know who Nadir Jones is for the past 23 years, Mr. Jones. Y'all trying to keep up with the Joneses. This one of the Joneses y'all need to keep up with. Mr. Jones has established a distinguished career in the heavy civil highway construction, transportation infrastructure, global supply chain, and economic development industries. The DIS expertise also include managing CBRE, one of the world's largest commercial real estate services and investment firms, and the Trammell Grow Company, a subsidiary of CBRE, one of the U.S. largest real estate developers. Global supply diversity goals and strategic initiatives to promote the inclusions of minority and other diverse businesses across each corporation's global supply chain. Mr. Jones also has held roles as deputy director of the Regional Alliance for Small Contractors based in New York, and also managed the New York MTA's Regional Small Business Development and Mentoring Program, in addition to managing the New Jersey Department of Transportation's Office of Civil Rights Disadvantaged Business is the Enterprise Program. I almost did it perfectly. I rehearsed it before, but here we go. We going for it. Mr. Jones, how you doing, brother? How's everything going?
Everything's good. Thanks, man. I appreciate you taking the time out your busy schedule to have me. So yeah, Nadir Jones, I'm the principal of Capstone Universal Group, and we're based out of New York City, Austin, Texas, and Atlanta, Georgia. Like DeTravius was just, mentioning, I've been in the transportation and infrastructure, construction management verticals for the past 23, now going on 24 years. I've managed the civil rights programs and supply diversity programs for 4 of the top 10 transportation industries in the country. So your port authorities of New York, New Jersey, the New York MTA, New Jersey Transit, and also Washington, D.C. Metro. Also in the commercial real estate space, I've managed the global supply diversity initiatives and strategic plans for CBRE, which is the world's largest real estate investment brokerage firm, and also Trammell Crow Company, which is also the U.S.'s largest real estate developer.
There you go. Yeah, just in case I missed something, right? Just in case I ain't put some respect on your name. So before I even get into the interview, man, I want to thank you for coming on, taking the time out your day to do this thing for me. We've been talking about it for a minute. I felt like it's been over a year. We've been trying to set it up to do it. It's been that long on as the young folks say, am I capping?
Yeah, well, schedules, but it's good that we're able to kind of connect and kind of, be able to have this conversation now. So appreciate you having me.
Yeah, and I just want to give you your flowers as it's been a cliche to do this because you're one of the few people that I call if I got an idea that I run it by, and you always pick up the phone for the most part, always return a text like, nah, think about it this way, do it that way, or even if you got an opportunity, like, oh, this opportunity come up, I think you should be there. Books, everything, man. I just want to be you. You are in my mastermind circle, whether you know that or not. You are a very good friend of mine, whether you know that or not. And it's crazy how we met because we've been in the same spaces over 10, 15, 20 years and didn't even know each other. And then we actually connected online, which is crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So it's just an honor to be here, man. So I appreciate you, man, as an individual and as a businessman too. So glad to have known you.
Yeah. So before we get into the business, just give people a quick background of where you from, how you got into the space, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Newark, New Jersey. Went to college in Atlanta, Georgia. In actuality, this pretty much just kind of fell into my lap. I really wanted to pursue a career where I can actually help the community where I live in actually participate in the building of this particular country. So, coming into this space back in 2000, starting off at New Jersey Transit and their civil rights department and just managing their engineering and their construction management projects. What I came to realize was, a lot of the individuals that you see, working on these particular projects don't necessarily look like us. So what I decided to do was really get more involved on the bureaucratic and the purchasing the good side at New Jersey Transit to see how we could be a little bit more inclusive with taxpayers' dollars to ensure that local and small minority businesses in the communities where we live and work can benefit from transportation, building the transportation infrastructure within, our respective states and country.
Got you. So let me ask you a question, because this show is about getting to the fine print of whatever people do. So
Mhm.
we're gonna stay high level, but we still gonna talk about the fine print. What are minority business certified businesses and why are they important?
So, by definition, minority-owned business, at least the term, has evolved globally and is slightly different depending on the certifying body. But at a very high level, what a MBE firm is a company where ownership of minority individuals or underrepresented group represent at least 51% ownership in that particular company. In the case of publicly owned businesses, at least 51% of the stock has to be owned by one or more of those such individuals.
And who is considered a minority? I know it sounds like cliche and but for people that are uneducated about it, because I think people probably don't understand like how broad that category is.
Yeah, so again, that depends on, the certifying body and also from a global perspective, what country that you're in. But historically, African American, Latino, Native American, women, individuals with disabilities, veteran-owned businesses, those all constitute what you consider the underrepresented group that are, at least here in the United States, have been presumed economically and socially disadvantaged here in mainstream America. Now, of course, globally, that's not always the case. For example, the LGBTQ community here in the States is considered an underrepresented group. And, there is a certification body that certifies individuals part of that group as a minority. But if I was to take that same definition to, let's say, Pakistan and India, that wouldn't necessarily apply because it's actually illegal there in those particular countries. So it depends.
So you said women. So does that include all women? Some women? I would.
That includes all women of all ethnic backgrounds.
All ethnic and racial backgrounds. Okay. Give me like some of the challenges. What are the challenges faced by minority certified businesses?
So, insofar as challenges is concerned, I really think, from a purchasing of goods or misconception of minority-owned businesses, can they actually deliver? Can they actually perform a job safely, on time, and on budget? And whether you're in the corporate sector or you're in the public sector working for a government agency, at the end of the day, you're trying to really drive some type of cost saving. So there is a particular unconscious bias internally with certain state, federal, and corporate entities. But typically that unconscious bias, whether or not an MBE can't perform and deliver a job, is one of the historical barriers.
Got you. All right. So let's go back, because I think we talked about minority business certified. So cause I know this is trying to walk the audience to it, because I know we know this stuff, but we should get to the audience. So let me know if I missed something. You go back and let me know. I'll let you know if I missed something. You missed something. But explain the difference between a minority owned business and a minority business certified business.
So you can be, part of the presumed group here in the United States that's considered, an underrepresented group, start a business, manage the day-to-day operations of that particular business, and still be considered a minority. However, the certification part comes in because you have certain entities who have certain targets and goals within their capital budgets or within their revenue budgets that they're looking to diversify their supply chain and spend their revenue in a more inclusive manner. How they track that metric is really based upon a certification. This particular certification, and there's several of them out there, but they range anywhere from the federal government level to the state to the municipal level, all the way down to internally to a corporate level, where they go through a process to substantiate that they are minority. They're part of one of the identified presumed groups, and they manage the day-to-day operations and can perform and deliver jobs safely, on time, and on budget.
Good answer. And I just want to highlight that you gotta manage the day-to-day operations. You can't just be 51% owner on paper and think you're gonna get that certification. You might get it initially, but they gonna come for looking for you when you get
Absolutely.
that audit. When you get that audit, because I know a lot of people they just want to throw a woman on as the owner or a black face as the owner and think they're gonna get over. The government is cracking down on all that type of stuff. Can you speak to that issue?
Yeah. So you have something that's running rampant, and actually it's been running rampant for maybe the past, really, I wouldn't say 25 to 30 years, where, obviously these programs have projects and contracts that are set aside for these particular type of firms, where there's a lot of fraud going on. So to kind of give an example, and it happens a lot with the women-owned businesses, whereas you may have a non-diverse individual that owns a company, let's just say a white male. Engineering company. He's owned 100% of the company. He has the PE license. He's run this business for 30 years. But he wants to take advantage of these particular set aside projects. So what he does is he pretty much divests about 51% of his company and puts it in his wife's name, who may not have the technical expertise or the experience to actually run the day-to-day operations of an engineering firm. So on paper, it may look as if the woman has 51% ownership and control of the company, whereas the husband is the minority owner. But when you look at the day-to-day operations and technical expertise and how much time she dedicates to the firm, she doesn't necessarily have those credentials. So there are audits that happen, especially on the state and government and federal level, where they really audit those type of applications to ensure that the firm that's applying for this particular status is true and indeed run by a particular individual from an underrepresented group.
So in case y'all missed it, if y'all doing that or you think about doing that, that's fraud. That's illegal, right?
Yes. So one of the things is when you do sign off on an affidavit to
Yep.
submit the application, you are signing off under the penalty of purging yourself. And
Yep.
if you are found to be a front, that particular certifying body does have an option to pursue legal action against you.
Exactly. So I'm glad you did it. And I ain't was the lawyer in the room this time because I tell people all the time, they be like, nah, you just don't know what you talk about. Everybody got the get rich quick scheme going on, but this is not what that is. So
Yeah.
so the key word that is fraud, and right. And so they are cracking down on it. So there's also been a lot of stuff going on that came down with these recent Supreme Court cases. You want to get into that, or how is that going to affect the 8A program? Let's talk about the 8A program. What is the 8A program?
So the 8A program is a federal certification program that was implemented by the SBA, which is the U.S. Small Business Administration. Started off as a 7-year program, but then it expanded to a 9-year program where you can actually apply for a particular status as a minority or woman-owned business, and you could participate on federally owned funded projects to meet their MBE goals and requirements. The special thing about the 8A program is, in DeTravius, this, when you're bidding government work, everything is a competitive bid, right? So you need at least 3 or more vendors to participate in a particular request for a proposal or invitation for bid, so they can compete for that particular business. With 8A, there's that, but then there's also an opportunity where you can win contracts through what they call a sole source. So for an example, if I'm the New York MTA and we're looking to retain a law firm to manage all of our legal issues, instead of going through a competitive bid, I can just call the Bethea law firm and just say, hey, DeTravius, this is our scope. This is, the services that we need for you to implement if we retain you. Just give us a quote. It doesn't have to necessarily go out for competitive bids. So the 8A program is really a vehicle for you to grow and scale your business through sole source awards and through other contracting opportunities with the federal government at a very fast pace. And you also have 9 years to do that.
Got you. And as I was so we had to rewind so to go move forward. So there's been some cases that have come out. You've been on top of it. You actually told me about it because I was aware of it on a broad schedule,
Yeah.
broad vision of it. I didn't do the deep dive until you sent it to me. explain like some of the consequences to some of these cases that are coming about that's challenging diversity, challenging affirmative action. How does that affect minority business enterprises in the 8A program?
So, very high level in regards to the case, there was a particular court case in the state of Tennessee, if I believe, and there was what was ironic was that the firm that actually sued the SBA was a women-owned business, white women-owned business, which women are considered part of that presumed group that have been socially and economically disadvantaged historically through the U.S. However, that particular firm, and I don't think I'm privy to say who, the name the name of that particular firm is. They winded up suing the SBA under the presence that the 8A program was a form of reverse discrimination. Ultimately, just thinking top of mind, this particular firm was probably making close to about 37 to about 40 million. I'm not sure if that was their annual gross revenues overall, or just the business that they were getting through the SBA 8A program. But that be that as it may, they were making about 37 to 40 million. And it appears that they were losing some of that business to other minority businesses that were also participating in the 8A program. So for them, they felt that, being quite frank, they were taking food off of their tables. So they wind up suing. And then the end result was the Supreme Court, investigated the 8A program and winded up striking that particular program down, or at least suspending it until further notice.
Got you, which is interesting. Like you said, it was a white women-owned organization, right? that filed a lawsuit, and that I guess won the lawsuit, really, because if they struck it down, said it's unconstitutional, they technically won. So what would be like because all right, let me ask a question. I don't know if you don't get fired. What ethnic group or demographic benefits the most from these minority business enterprises, these set aside programs?
So, this is all public information. And, if you were to take a look at, out of all the represented groups that are presumed economically and socially disadvantaged here in America, who benefits the most from these programs, it is white women. It's public information. It's out there. They win the majority of the contracts, and they lead the pack.
Got you. So that's I'm not gonna get fired myself, even though I work for myself. I'm gonna go say something. I'm just not gonna get fired. We trying not to get canceled. So so what are like the equivalents? Just say like if you do it, because I know you're super familiar with New York and New Jersey. What are like the equivalent programs in New York and New Jersey to the 8A programs?
So, you have several programs. The state of New York has their own internal MWB program. So really their capital budget, I think their particular goal is at 30%. And I think that goal was implemented by Governor Cuomo years ago. And it's probably going to increase, fortunately, it's going to increase, next year or the next state fiscal year. But then you have other New York and New Jersey state agencies and other private corporations too. And we can talk about the private corporations also that have their own internal MWBE or supply diversity goals. So we're talking about the New York MTA. Obviously, I manage their program. You have the New York City School Construction Authority, who builds all the school, all the high schools and the elementary schools within the city. You also have the New York Department of Transportation has their own MWB program in regards to all the heavy civil highway construction projects that they have going on. And also you have the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey has their own internal minority and women-owned business program also. And as you know, the Port Authority, they manage all the bridges, tunnels, highways, and airports in New Jersey and New York. So whether it's JFK, LaGuardia, Newark Airport, all of those they manage all of those locations.
And just to have to get the people, just to let them get them a broad general perspective of how much money we're talking about. How much? What are their budgets? What type? How much money are they
So,
giving out in contracts?
I mean, we're talking, in the tens of billions of dollars, right? So New York MTA, during
You said billions with a B, right? Correct.
with the B.
B. Okay.
So, for example, during the 8 years at the New York MTA, our capital budget was about 33 billion. It's probably up to about 50 billion right now. Port Authority's capital budget is probably somewhere around 50 billion in themselves too. And then, the state of New York is probably close to about, 50 to maybe 100 billion, on their own. So it's a lot of money in New York and New Jersey insofar as the purchasing of goods and services.
Got you. So this is billion with a B, people. In case you didn't know, I did a quick math. I calculated over 150 billion already just in New York,
Yeah.
New Jersey area that he was saying. So this is a worldwide, global thing. We just talking about two states in the United States,
Yeah.
and we not even talking about one on the federal level. Um, but if a person, so let's rewind just a little bit to move
Hmm.
forward again. So if a person wants to get their minority, they fit in the class and they want to get their minority business enterprise from a broad general way, because everything is obviously specific to the person and the place of where they at.
Yeah.
What things do they have to have in place to get the minority business enterprise certification? Just say for like whatever state you want to use as an example.
So it depends on each state. Some states require that you're in business for a certain amount of years. I know in the state of New York, they prefer you to be in business at least 2 years, and to have some type of presence within the state, insofar as an office and things of that nature. But typical, business documents, articles of incorporation, 3 years of tax returns, 3 years of financials, corporate bylaws, operating agreements, resumes of all principal owners, so on and so forth.
Got you. Um, so with that going forward, so that's to get the certification, and they use the certifications for both public. We talked about public and private. So what's going on the private end? Like, how do you get involved in on the private sector with once you get your minority business enterprise certification?
So you have, certain Fortune 500 corporations such as the Coca-Colas of the world, the Googles, the Microsofts, so on and so forth, that they purchase goods and services too, and obviously they have very hefty budgets, and they're looking to diversify their supply chain also, and they're looking to include more minority women-owned businesses that could provide sustainable and more innovative products into their particular supply chain, especially if it's going to drive more competition and cost savings. So I can talk to you in regards to CBRE. Back in 2021, they made a public commitment to diversify their supply chain by $3 billion by 2025.
Okay.
And this is something that, their C-suite executives have embraced and that they're taking very seriously. And then obviously, with that type of public commitment, their competition, who they compete with globally in that particular space, also want to do the same thing too, right? Because a lot of the clients are asking for this. To give you an example, I'm working on a project right now in Dallas with the airport,
Mm.
where Trammell Crow, which is one of the developers that I work with, brokered a deal with them to do some interior fit outs on some buildings, on the airport premises. And it's a $200 million contract, and one of their things, or one of their mandates that they wrote into a particular contract was 30% of that 200 million had to go to some type of minority women-owned business. So when you do the math, you're talking about $60 million. So if they weren't able to meet that particular goal, they never would have won that particular contract. Probably one of their competitors would have.
Got you. Got you. So we talked about the minority business. So let's flip to the other side because it's all business, right? So let's talk
Yeah.
about the non-minority business. So how do they get into the minority business certified business? If you're, let's say Coca-Cola, how would they get into the business of hiring minority business enterprises, certified business enterprises?
Well, you got to look at it from this particular standpoint. You know, you want to use Coca-Cola as an example. I mean, how many buildings do you think Coca-Cola owns across the globe, right? Somebody has to clean those buildings, right?
Hmm.
Uh, how many janitorial services firms do you think that are minority owned can benefit from that? Somebody has to manage their property, right? How many minority property managers you think could grab a building or two and have Coca-Cola as a client, just managing their property, doing facilities management for that? Even if
Hmm.
it's something as supplying cooler water for certain
Hmm.
locations, you know, if you're a supplier of water, who's to say that you can't, you know, use Microsoft and just provide, you know, water to their offices across, you know, a particular region or nationally
Hmm.
or across the globe?
Got you. So how can these organizations like essentially these organizations are trying to build a more diverse supply chain, right? So
Yeah.
what would be some best practices for say like a Coca-Cola to get a more diverse supply chain?
Well, I think it's really about just, you know, finding your pool of women owned and minority businesses that can, you know, provide the service for you. So I think one of the initial things that corporations should do is really just identify what their key categories are insofar as where the majority of their spend is going for. So is it general contracting? Is it engineering? Is it janitorial services? Is it, you know, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, so on and so forth. And if there's a gap insofar as, you know, you don't have enough diversification in those particular verticals, that would make sense to start really supporting a lot of these advocacy bodies that actually certify these particular firms in these particular type of scopes. So we're talking about the National Minority Supplier Development Council, where the national office is in New York and they have 22 chapters across the country, or becoming a corporate sponsor of the National Association of Minority Contractors, or really just supporting maybe a small business's local chamber of commerce, whether it's the African American Chamber of Commerce or the Latino Hispanic Chamber of Commerce or a Women's Chamber of Commerce. All those members are business owners who have that type of status that are probably more than willing to participate and win work with that particular corporation or agency.
Got you. So just so like we can have a little bit of fun with it, like what's like give me if you know off the top of your head like the $1 million contract for something, you just be like, what? They want $1 million for paper clips? Or what?
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it really can be that. I've
Yeah.
seen projects like that, whereas, you know, there was a client that may have hired Staples to provide paper and paper clips, but part of that particular contract was, well, hey, Staples, if we're going to pay you $30 million over the next 3 to 5 years, we want to ensure that at least, you know, a certain percentage is spent with a diverse arm business that provides the same services that you also do, so we can integrate them into the supply chain. And then one of the
Mhm.
things that, you know, us being the client, what we'll do is we'll ensure that we'll track that metric to ensure that you're actually delivering that particular uh, target and goal.
Nice, nice, nice. So the reason I asked you that question because you know I'm a lawyer, obviously, and on my
Yeah,
end, you know I tell clients they got to think about like when you're dealing with a business. So a lot of people think business is easy because everybody want to be a boss and all that type of stuff, right?
yeah,
Nowadays, but think about business like businesses need everything. So when you walk into an office or a building, like all that stuff was purchased and maintained by somebody, right?
yeah,
So it's like you don't necessarily gotta go for necessarily the home run contract and say like you're just trying to build, you're trying to get a construction contract for $100 million, right?
yeah,
You could just supply them with, like you said, water. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
that could be $100,000 contract for you, and you know, 4 base hits still get you home run. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and for the private sector is, you know, once you get your foot in the door and some, you know, and it could be something as small as a 100,000 or $250,000 job, but you know, in the private sector, you know, if you're used and you deliver the project on time and on budget, um, typically the procurement official will tend to stay with you, right?
Mm,
They don't like to switch over vendors quite often. Public sector, you know, every couple of years, everything still has to go out for competitive bid because you are utilizing taxpayers' dollars and it's public money. But still, you know, if you win a, you know, water bottle contract for three to 5 years, you have 3 to 5 years just with one client, you know, making a certain amount of money and profiting from that one particular client. So if you had 10 clients doing that, you know, you can do the math.
Got you. So so beyond that, because I always tell people, like, you know, to hire professionals, right? So the professionals
Mhm.
are the consultants, the professionals are
Mhm.
the lawyers, the professionals are the CPAs. So and like I know it sounds crazy coming from a lawyer because everybody hates paying lawyers, right? Everybody hates lawyers until you need a lawyer. But like,
Yeah,
so what would be like a ballpark figure? Say I'm a minority business enterprise. I'm coming to you to the Capstone Group, and
yeah.
I'm consulting. You're charging me a consulting fee. Like, what would be like the minimum amount of budget that they should have for setup with the budget, including lawyer fees, CPA, consultant, or whatever other fees you want to put in there? What would be like a ballpark figure
I
that
mean,
they should?
you know, you know, DeTravius, that's going to vary, right?
Okay.
You know, one, that's going to vary because, you know, if you're a firm and your gross revenues are 1 million,
Mm-hmm.
right, an accountant or an attorney is going to charge you different, or a consultant's going to charge you different for their services if you were a $50 million minority business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just, you know, more effort and more time and more paperwork and, you know, other minute things to look at. So it really
Mm-hmm.
depends, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and it really depends on the size of the company, what the company does, what their target is, what their goals are, short term and long term, so on and so forth.
Got you. I ain't like that answer. But the reason I wanted you to give people a feel. So
But I will
so
say this though, I do think that
now.
it's very important that one, you have an accountant
Mhm, mhm,
because financials are very important. And I don't care if you're doing work with the federal government, state,
mhm,
a local municipality, or a private corporation. They're going to want to take a look at your financials to see, you know, where you are as a company. Do you have the capacity and bandwidth to deliver? The other thing is, you know, shameless, you know, to plug you in, is it's very important to hire an attorney too. Uh,
mhm,
you know, the 23 years that I've been doing this, you know, just working with, you know, small businesses in general, you know, it's a 24/7. It's not a 9 to 5. And, you know, and it is a hustle. And, you know, when you get that first contract, a lot of times small businesses are just so excited to win that particular contract. They just sign off on the bottom line and don't necessarily read through the contract. So then, you know, they may win, but they may not, you know, be aware of certain insurance stipulations or payment clauses that are in that particular contract, and they wind up getting jammed up in the end, especially when it comes to the government, right? Because if you're a subcontractor or subconsultant to another business that's working directly for a client, and if the agency says, "Hey, we pay every 90 days," then you need to know that. And if you don't have the line of credit or the cash flow to float the
mhm,
job and to make payroll, because you know you're not going to get paid in 90 days, it could put you out of business. So those two people I do recommend, just from
mhm.
a general business perspective: hire an accountant and hire an attorney.
So you stole my fire. So I didn't. Your answer was good. The reason I didn't like it is not because of you. It's because of people in the outside world, right?
Yeah,
So just say they come to me and I'm like, all right, it's going to cost you. Just say I'm gonna just keep numbers simple. Just say it's going to cost you 10,000 for me to
yeah,
review and had a team review everything we need to review for this potential multi-million-dollar contract over years, right?
yeah,
Like they will, like, I'm not paying you this. I'm not, like, they will, they will shut down and do whatever, they go to get somebody cheaper or don't get anybody at all. And then, like, they get the contract and, like, you stole my fire a little bit. They all that fine print stuff, read the fine print start
yeah,
coming in. Like, you're not getting paid to 90 days. Like if
Yeah.
you now you got this contract, you think you're gonna well, it's $4 million, but you're not getting paid into 90 days, right? Every
Yeah.
90 days you get paid after you deliver the service. So it's like if you but because you didn't want to pay the 10,000 and you do the 10,000 on the million is what less than 1%, right? It's like this is less than 1% of your entire budget that you're about to win, but you don't want to invest that because you
Yeah.
think it's too expensive. But now you lost. Either you got the contract and now you can't keep up the contract, you go out of business, but now you lose the contract because you didn't cross the T or dot the I that an attorney or CPA or
Yeah.
consultant would have went through and said, nah, you need this, you need that. Do you think you could do this? Can you handle that? And it's rather than know to be out, in my opinion, 10,000 versus you be out of business, period, because you can't make payroll for the 90 days while you floating all the expenses before you get paid.
Yeah.
So that's why I said it was a good answer, but I didn't like it because you brought it back. I gave you the alley you did on your LeBron joint, not Jordan. It's an inside tip. Your LeBron joint and dunked it in. It was like, yo, you really need people to, especially like CPAs and lawyers, you really need them to really look through your documents because
Yeah.
that is the thing that separates a lot of people from,
Yeah.
from taking it to the next steps. Like you can't be cheap when it comes to those people, in my opinion.
Yeah, nah, I concur. And when it comes to the accounting standpoint, financial management, I think is one of the greatest things that I think a business owner can really educate themselves on. Just for the fact that historically access to capital has always been an issue for small businesses in general. So I think it's imperative for especially if you're a minority business, to develop a relationship with the bank or with a minority owned bank, and have that relationship. So when you do run into an opportunity, you already have that established relationship. You're bankable with them, and they may be able to provide the insurance and the bonding, with you once you have that relationship.
Got you. And we coming to the end. So if there's anything that I missed or that you want to add on that I didn't get to, please tell the people now.
No, I'm good. I just think first and foremost, the small business community, if you're new to this type of arena or this industry, it's just to know that it doesn't happen overnight. It's a lot of
Doesn't happen overnight. Yeah.
networking. A lot of it's about who you know, not necessarily what you know. Um, again, I've been in construction management for 23 years, and to give you an example, when I was at the Regional Alliance, when I was a deputy director there, we had LaGuardia, JFK Terminal 1 and Terminal 6, and it's the client at the time is AECOM Hunt, which is the largest engineering firm in the world. So, as a minority business, it's imperative that you know who the movers and shakers are, for when they are passing down this type of work, that you can participate and actually, create wealth and scale your business up with. So definitely network and try to get to know who the decision makers are, within that particular organization that you're trying to pursue.
Got you. So it's Acon Gump. I don't know
A
whatever.
it's AECOM.
AECOM. Yeah, now I see it. I see the logo all the time. I don't
Yeah.
think I was putting my house in the ACOM though. I
Yeah.
don't think I was doing that. But all right. So tell the people where they can find you at.
So yeah, if you're a small business and you're looking to get certified, or if you're just looking to pursue certain state or federal clients, or different Fortune 500 clients, you can reach me at Nadir Jones. Well, actually, you can reach me at info.capstonegroup.llc@gmail.com. Shoot me over an email. We can schedule a call. We'll determine what your short term and what your long term goals are, what client pursuits that you're looking for, and then we'll do our best of our ability to assist you in your pursuit.
Got you. And everybody, thanks again. Has been another episode of Redefine Print the Show. I wish I gotta step my game up to have the clapping thing for the guests, Mr.
Yeah.
Nadir Jones. And thank you again for just being taking the time out of your day to do this and just being a good overall friend and brother to me. Whenever I call you, like I said, you always You do better than me because I might call a joker back at 48 hours. You call back a couple hours. At least when it come to me, I don't know what he doing with y'all, but when it come to me, he'll hit me like, yo, I'm doing this. I'll call you right back if he's not taking the call. But thanks again for being you. Thanks again for giving people information. And as always, if you like this content, please like, rate, review. Think about becoming a sponsor. The episodes are going to come out more regularly. We're going to be more consistent with it. And me and the Dear Jones, we also have some other things coming up that we will highlight in the future, maybe episode or course, or who knows. So until the next time, people, peace.